What's up, guys? It's Chris Surratt bringing you another edition of the Car Concierge Show, the show that helps with the buying, selling, maintaining, and repairing of your vehicle. On today's show, we're going to tackle a couple of topics. We're definitely going to talk about a little bit tariffs and how some dealerships and automakers are dealing with tariffs right now. We're also going to talk about Bernie Moreno, Senator Bernie Moreno, a former car dealer who has some thoughts on the tariffs and how they're going to affect the industry. We're also going to dive into Honda as it decides that it's going to shift some of its workflow from over in Canada to the US. And then we're going to talk about Genesis as they premiere a new electric vehicle over at the New York Auto Show that looks interesting. All right, let's jump into it real quickly. We're going to do it a little bit different this show. We're going to, do a lot of more topics. We're going to, instead of our standard 3 topics, we're going to do a couple of topics. Probably still won't be a super long show, but we're going to get you through it, okay? So first thing I wanted to talk about was, of course, tariffs. We're still going through that as we speak. Lots of companies are dealing with it differently. We were talking about recently how GM was putting out the American First commercials, promoting their product as American built products, and then of course how they got in trouble for that. Well, a lot of these companies are trying their best to deal with the tariff situation, either try to ignore it or try to put out word that they're going to take care of it and things of that nature. So what we have here is a couple stories, of course, from Automotive News, and they're talking about how a couple of different companies are dealing with the tariffs. So, first story we're going to check out is our favorite Ford, and they're telling people that they're not going to that they might raise prices in May because of the tariffs. So, let's read that story real quick. And of course, from Automotive News, our favorite source for automotive news. We're going to be checking out this story from Michael Martinez. It says, Ford Motor Company could increase prices on newly built vehicles next month if President Donald Trump doesn't ease tariffs on automotive imports, a top executive told dealers in a memo obtained by Automotive News. Andrew Frick, president of Ford Blue and Model E, said in April 16th memo that the automaker was still working to understand the effects of Trump's tariff policy, but believes certain tariffs are likely to remain in place for at least some time. He thanked dealers for embracing the company's employee pricing for all discount, saying Ford's strong American manufacturing presence has allowed it to avoid having to change production or pricing so far. As we mentioned during the April 1st dealer go-to-market call, we will not increase the MSRP for any vehicle currently in inventory with our Ford and Lincoln dealers, and our employee pricing offer will remain in the market through June 2nd, 2025, as advertised, Frick wrote. However, in the absence of material changes to the tariff policy, as articulated to date, we anticipate the need to make vehicle pricing adjustments in the future, which is expected to happen with May production. Any price increases would not affect inventory already at dealerships, a Ford spokesperson said. Vehicles produced in May likely would not arrive until late June at the earliest. We're 100% committed to our From America for America employee pricing through June 2nd, the spokesperson said. We're not changing the price of any of our existing inventory. Customers have a lot of choices, and we have plenty of inventory for them to choose from through June 2nd. Ford imports the Mustang Mach-E, Bronco Sport, and Maverick from Mexico. It ships the Lincoln Nautilus to U.S. dealerships from China. Lincoln President Diane Craig told Automotive News that the luxury brand continues to ship and sell the Nautilus, although price increases are likely if the duties persist. Trump slapped a 25% tariff on vehicle imports starting April 3rd, while China imports, including autos, are subject to higher amounts. Administration officials said vehicle tariffs were still in place even after Trump paused reciprocal duties on most other countries April 9th. Automakers have responded to the tariffs in different ways. Japanese automaker Mitsubishi has stopped shipping additional inventory to its 330 U.S. dealerships, holding vehicles at port before the point in the import process where tariffs are imposed. Volvo Car plans to halt U.S. sales of the S90 large sedan it builds in China. Volkswagen has said it will add an import fee on vehicles' window stickers, but on April 16th, promised to hold price steady through the end of May. That's what we're going to get to in a second. Trump said April 14th he is exploring possible exemptions to his tariffs on imported vehicles and parts to give auto companies more time to set up U.S. manufacturing. I'm looking at something to help car companies with it, Trump told reporters April 14th in the Oval Office. They're switching to parts that were made in Canada, Mexico, and other places and need a little bit of time because they're going to make them here. All right, so quick story about Ford. And of course, Ford, just like GM, did do the employee pricing. They have the employee pricing out until June 2nd. So, of course, this is definitely going to be a great time to buy a vehicle. So check out my show that's going to be premiering later on today and find out about tariff shopping for vehicles. But it's one of those things where, you know, it's definitely putting the cart before the horse. It was just put out in a newsletter to all the dealerships anyway. And they're talking about vehicles that they haven't made yet or will be in production and won't be available till June 2nd. So that gives them a lot of time and leeway to not only fix whatever needs to be fixed so they're not charging customers more pricing on their vehicles, and it also gives them time to allow any changes that the president is going to decide he's going to make on these tariffs and implement them that could save them money in the long run. Now, what this is supposed to do is allow them the time to build U.S. plants so they can start building their products, their cars, their car parts here in America so it benefits America. And that's what they said. That's the whole plan, and it seems to be working. So let's keep going. I'm going to check out this next story about Volkswagen. They kind of spilled the beans in that last article, but let's check this story out anyway. All right. Volkswagen guarantees current U.S. vehicle pricing through May as tariffs sow confusion. And this is from Jack Wadsworth. And this is from April 16th, which is today. New York. Volkswagen Group of America aiming to provide clarity to shoppers and dealers at U.S. tariffs on light vehicle imports sow confusion. Will maintain current pricing on new Volkswagen models through the end of May. Volkswagen last month signaled it was prepared to place a tariff surcharge on all imported models, some of which are among its biggest sellers in the U.S. The German brand imports 3 vehicles from Mexico: the Jetta compact sedan, Taos subcompact crossover, and Tiguan compact crossover. All 3 models are compliant with the United States-Mexico-Canada agreement. The Tiguan is historically Volkswagen's best-selling nameplate in the U.S. The redesigned 2025 Tiguan is set to launch in May. We have to protect and care for our customers. We have to protect and care for our dealers and for our business as well as our suppliers, Kaijo Gruner, Volkswagen Group of America CEO, said during the April 16th roundtable here at the New York Auto Show. The U.S. hoping to draw more manufacturing investment slapped 25% tariffs on all U.S. car and light truck imports effective April 3rd, a move that impacts nearly 50% of the models sold in the market. Gruner said U.S. customers are tracking the impact of tariffs and asking many questions. The U.S. new vehicle market capped a solid first quarter with a surge in late March as consumers rushed to make purchases ahead of tariff shopping. And analysts say the tariffs will drive prices higher in coming months while likely limiting supply and selection. Volkswagen brand U.S. sales rose 7.1% in the first quarter. Gruner said Volkswagen is monitoring the impact of the tariffs with the Trump administration as well as the market. Volkswagen continues to ship vehicles, Gruner confirmed. In April, Volkswagen told retailers it planned an added import fee on affected vehicles once the tariffs went into effect. Gruner stressed that the added import fee, part of Volkswagen's tariff scenario planning, has not gone into effect and was non-committal that it would even after the end of May. We need to see where tariffs are, Gruner said. If that goes away, the discussion goes away, and that's very easy to see. So let's see what happens on that side. Gruner said that Volkswagen cannot absorb the full cost of the tariffs alone. The amount per vehicle is just too high, Gruner said. We can't just keep absorbing it. He said Volkswagen is weighing how much added cost and pricing consumers, dealers, and suppliers can handle. We want to safeguard and protect our consumers and still enable them to purchase that vehicle, Gruner said, but we alone can't absorb it. Volkswagen also imports the ID Buzz electric minivan from Germany, along with the Golf GTI and Golf R hot hatches. Volkswagen builds the ID4 compact electric crossover and Atlas and Atlas Cross Sport large crossovers in Chattanooga. Gruner said discussions to make additional vehicles manufacturing investment in the U.S. are ongoing internally. You can expect some investment, Gruner said, but I won't disclose numbers here today. See? That's all you're asking for. That's what all we're asking for is y'all to invest in America. The price guarantee only applies to Volkswagen brand vehicles, Gruner said. Audi, Bentley, and Lamborghini pricing will be determined separately. Bentley, Gruner said, guaranteed that U.S. customers who order a vehicle through the end of April will be price protected regardless of when it enters the U.S. All the brands are trying to protect customers, and their dealers within their business model, Gruner said. All right, that's good stuff. I mean, what can you expect? We're going to see a lot of this back and forth, and people talking about these tariffs, and it's a lot of hubbub for nothing, because we don't really honestly know how tariffs are going to affect anything. All this is speculation. People asking questions, making determinations on stuff they really don't know. They don't know how prices are going to change, how much the tariffs are going to be per car. They have no idea. So they're throwing out these huge numbers, $2,000, $5,000, $10,000 in raised costs for these vehicles, and they just have no idea. No idea whatsoever. Even the companies have no idea. Near of the companies. No idea whatsoever what they're going to do. Still are guaranteeing prices for these people, because you know what, they're guaranteeing these prices for these people up until May, because they know that right now people are doing a lot of tariff shopping and buying all kinds of cars because they're in these big old fears. This is fear mongering at its best, my friends. This is fear mongering at its best. Here sitting with these tariffs looming all over all these cars, and all these ideas and all these people spouting these ideas and statements that these prices are going to skyrocket for these vehicles, is scaring people into buying cars right now. People that don't even need cars are out there shopping for cars, trying to get ahead of the curve, trying to make sure they get a car for a good price. They have no idea how the price is going to change these cars. Dollars or donuts, the price on these cars is going to drop. It's going to drop. You know why it's going to drop? Because of competition. Because these companies are going to raise their prices a little bit. And they're like, this other company going to be like, all right, well, tariffs are not affecting us as much. Most of our products are coming from the U.S., so we're not getting hit with all these tariffs. So we can keep our price cool. Matter of fact, we might be able to lower our price a little bit more. So that in itself is going to cause the cost of these vehicles to go down. So it's just a huge fear-mongering tactic, just scaring people into buying cars, which, I understand it. I understand the America First commercials by Ford and GM. I understand the employee pricing. I understand getting out in front of it. I totally understand that it's a necessity. If you can, you want to get out in front of problems that might come down the pipeline. So, now, let's keep going, and we're going to talk about Bernie Moreno. Senator Bernie Moreno, he just became senator, and he used to be a car dealer, so he speaks a lot about the automotive industry. Been doing his rounds, a lot of interviews, talking about migrants and all those type of things. But of course, here at the Car Concierge Show, we really care about what he's saying about cars and the automotive industry. So, Mr. Moreno had an interesting take on tariffs recently. I think this was at the New York Auto Show. We probably should do a full show about the New York Auto Show. This is going to have a lot of stuff in it, but not a whole lot. But he had an interesting take on the tariffs and how they're going to affect the industry. And let's check that out real quick. Of course, it's another reader from Automotive News, our favorite source for automotive news. Senator Bernie Moreno, tariffs will be a blip industry won't remember. This is by Molly Boygan, and this is from April 16th today in New York. It's probably from the New York Auto Show. Dire tariff-driven economic projections from economists and other industry experts are unlikely to play out, according to Senator Bernie Moreno, a Republican from Ohio and former car dealer. Moreno provided his perspective at Automotive Forum New York, hosted by J.D. Power, NADA, and the New York International Auto Show on April 15th. This will be a blip, he told industry stakeholders at the Javits Center. We won't remember. We won't be talking about this next year at the auto show. We can talk about, well, man, we can't keep up with the volume of sales. This is fantastic. Moreno's comments came after roughly 8 hours of doom and gloom from others. His remarks highlighted the growing chasm between the normally sympathetic auto industry and the Republican politicians at the helm of the tariffs. Patrick Manzi, NADA's chief economist, forecast that households will lose $4,700 each in disposable income from the tariffs. Thomas King, the president of the Data and Analytics Division of J.D. Power, predicted the automotive industry is facing $62 billion tariff exposure, with an average cost per vehicle of $4,782 and an annualized retail sales pace decline of 8%. Moreno, in an interview with Automotive News after his speech, would not say whether tariffs are a bargaining chip meant to garner fair trade deals or a permanent fixture meant to reshore domestic manufacturing. It's both. I think it's absolutely unequivocally both. I think of somewhere around 10% as a permanent number, as long as other countries didn't have their tariffs higher than that, or non-tariff bearers higher than that, he said. Ultimately, we have the master negotiator in the White House that's going to make that happen. Moreno is a vocal champion of President Donald Trump's administration and its economic policies. Asked how the U.S. will compete with Chinese manufacturers whose cheap and sophisticated electric vehicles are gaining ground globally, Moreno said America has always been the leader. They're an export market. I think we can isolate them on EVs, he said. When asked about the auto industry's role in combating climate change, he questioned its existence. Look, the reality is, what happens in the climate is that you see changes all the time. That's crazy. Tariffs stand to impact even nook and cranny of the automotive value chain, including mining, materials, refinery, manufacturing, sales, and service, and parts. Some parts will be subjected to stacking tariffs, general rates of duty, auto part tariffs, and previous tariffs on Chinese imports among them. That's interesting. I don't know if I said this in another show or not, but you know, I run a collision center, and of course I order a lot of parts and I ship out a lot of parts. And I had to ship out a part recently, and it was shipped through eBay, and it was a tariff. I had to have a special tariff code to send it out because it was going to Australia, I think. Yeah, I think it was going to Australia. So I had to have a special tariff code, and I told the dude I was gonna send it because I ain't got no tariff code. And then, you know, I had to find out about tariff codes and the special tariff codes and what they meant and how much they cost and all this kind of stuff. So it was a learning experience, to say the least. All right. To weather storm, Moreno advised that manufacturers seek investment from the administration and present a plan to Trump, which is very simple. Here's how much more investment we'll do. Here's what job growth will do. Give us a runway to make that happen, he said. I think there's an administration that's very open to making these kind of deals. It's not clear what mechanism the federal government, which allocates a budget toward expenditures using acts of Congress, will use to grant individual automakers a runway, but in Moreno's world, sheer force of will can make things happen. Who knows how to make deals better than the people in this audience, he said. You guys are the most successful car dealers in America. Encourage your manufacturers to make a deal with the administration. Man, straightforward, to the point, makes total sense. What can we say different about what that man said? I mean, we just don't know. All the doom and gloom and the forecasts and the ideas and the American family's gonna lose $4,000 and it's gonna hurt us so bad. How? I just don't understand how. Specifically, I don't understand how we can sit here and say it won't hurt. It's going to hurt us all so bad, But we've been paying tariffs to other countries for years. Ain't nobody said nothing. Was that hurting us? Was it hurting us when we were paying China all these tariffs? When China is collecting all this money from all these U.S. automakers and all these U.S. companies? Was that hurting us? I would beg to say, yeah, it was hurting us if we're spending money that we don't need to be spending. And now it's about the reciprocity of the whole situation. We want to be great again. We want to be financially stable again. We want to get out of a deficit. We want to stop paying all this money out to the point where we're out of money. Doesn't that make sense? Doesn't it make sense that we should be collecting some money from these people who are collecting money from us? That just makes sense. And the idea that these tariffs are going to destroy everything, why didn't the tariffs that the other companies that were putting on us destroy anything? Anybody asking that question? Why is all the years that these companies are putting these tariffs on us and all these major amounts of tariffs? Because Trump showed that list and it was crazy. 45% tariffs on us, 65% tariffs on us in some places. We doing these people a favor because we're big brother. We've always been big brother. That's how most countries see us, as big brother. Other countries see us as equal. But the countries that see us big brother, they took advantage of that. They took advantage of that by putting tariffs on us, and we paid it no problem because we big brother. And we think we got money falling out of our pockets. And that's just not the case. America's not that way no more. We're falling off. We fell off. And we need to get ourselves back again. All right, let's keep going. I told y'all this would be one of those shows, not super duper long, but you know, we're going to do a couple more segments. Got to branch out in the show. We're still building the studio. Got the furniture coming in tomorrow. And, you know, we're making moves, my friend. We're making moves, okay? All right, so we're going to pull out some bad news. And we're going to go into some funny stuff. And then we're going to get up out of here. All right, so once again, on this show, we always talk about layoffs and where they're happening and how bad they are, and specifically when it comes to automotive industry. So we did see a story about some plants closing over in Michigan. So we're going to touch on that, see how it affects the automotive industry, and then we'll keep it moving, okay? All right, so automotive news, you know we love it. Michigan supplier to close plants, lay off 188 workers. Automotive supplier Tribar Technologies planned to close facilities 34 miles west of Detroit in Wixom and lay off 188 people after being acquired and consolidated. So they was bought out. The company, whose chemical spill into the Huron River in 2022 resulted in a federal environmental violation, told employees that there will be a mass layoff June 8th at its Adept plastic finishing facility in Wixom, according to a WARN notice posted by the state on April 15th. We regret to inform you that your position will be eliminated by June 7, 2025, the letter said. Your layoff is expected to be permanent. You are not entitled to any job bumping rights. Damn! In an additional letter to the state, the company said the layoffs are the result of the company being sold and the acquirer consolidating operations to the Howell location 30 miles west of Wixom. The buyer will be interviewing Tribar both hourly and salaried employees for employment opportunities, said the letter signed by Bob Brewster, Director of Human Resources. Tribar Technologies thanks you for your support over the years. It's unclear who bought the company, which was owned by the Washington, D.C. based HCI Equity Partners. Brewster did not respond to a request for comment. Other company officials could not be reached for more information. Automotive news affiliates Crane's Detroit business also reached out to the city of Wixom for details. Tribar makes chrome badges and decorative trims for automakers at 6 plants in Wixom, including the one on the chopping block. The company was forced to temporarily shut down operations in 2022 after a chemical spill into the Huron River. The company illegally discharged 10,000 gallons of liquid contaminated with hexavalent chromium, a cancer-causing chemical that is used to make chrome parts. You know, I saw something about that on a TV show I was watching the other day. State officials issued 5 violations to the company after an investigation found that the employee overrode the waste treatment alarms 460 times during the incident in December. The company pled guilty to a negligent violation of a pre-treatment standard under the Clean Water Act, according to a news release from the U.S. Department of Justice. You know, they did this. I'm watching this show now. It's called Reacher. It's Reacher. It's a great show. I'm thinking in season 2 right now, and they did something like this story in it. Was it Reacher? Yeah, it was Reacher. It was Reacher because Reacher and Neely went to someplace in Michigan. I'm pretty sure it was in Michigan, and the water had been contaminated by some company that they was investigating. And there was a dude fishing there, but he knew the water was contaminated. But he's saying, what else he gonna do because the contamination not only messed up the water, but it closed the company, a plant or something that was right there too. It was the exact same story, but I mean, this is just bad. Of course, it's bad. People getting laid off. Thank God that the company is going to consolidate and they're going to hire some of these people over at the other location that's not too far from Wixom. So that is good news. Of course, Michigan is ripe for the building. There's a lot of automakers, bringing plants in. So it's not dire. I just pray that these people who are getting laid off or have the ability to either further their education, move into other fields, or, get into some of the new plants that are getting built over in Michigan. We know that several places, move over to Indiana. They got that Hyundai plant going up over there. There's lots of opportunity out there for you guys, so that's a good thing. So just unfortunate, but keep your heads up. There's opportunity out there, and more opportunities going to come. What these tariffs are doing. And I will say this, what these tariffs are doing is definitely bringing more opportunity into the U.S. Lots of places are building plants here, bringing, production here. And, hey, let's go to another story that's talking about exactly that. All right, so this is a quick story about Honda, who is going to shift some auto production from Canada over to the U.S. Let's check it out.
It's expensive and long and difficult to execute those plans.
BBC News is looking into a Japanese news report that says Honda is considering moving some production from its plant in Alliston to the U.S. It's the latest in a series of automakers possibly moving production to the country in the wake of Donald Trump's trade war. The report comes from Japanese news outlet Nikkei. It says Honda Japan is considering shifting production of the CR-V and Civic sedan to the U.S. from Alliston, Ontario. The report doesn't name its sources, but does cite Canada's retaliatory vehicle tariffs against the U.S. The Trump administration has a 25% tariff in place on foreign-made vehicles, but there are complex exemptions involving Canadian-made cars. Metro Morning spoke to automotive journalist Greg Layson about what this might mean.
There has to be contingency plans for contingency plans for contingency plans at this point. We just don't know what his end game is, Donald Trump, other than bringing jobs back to America. We don't know if he's going to change his mind today or tomorrow or next month. We're hearing of postponement now of...
What other end game could there be? That's the whole point. I mean, we understand that this whole thing, and he said it many times, is that he's trying to bring jobs back to America. He said it several times. There's no question about that.
Tariffs on parts from May 3rd. There might be exceptions after that. Who knows? And this is why these stories start to trickle out. You have to imagine that the upper managers, the high-level managers at all of these automakers are planning for a worst-case scenario, which is these tariffs are permanent and we cannot eat this cost forever. And so while this is one that has leaked, I would assume that there are other high-level managers at all automakers operating in Ontario considering the exact same thing.
Yeah, Flavio Volpe of the Automotive Parts Manufacturers Association has told CBC the Japanese plan for plans, but I don't see Honda in Ontario being affected at the moment. And this is to be clear, what is being leaked is a 2 or 3 year horizon.
Just to give you some context, Honda makes the Civic here in Ontario. Obviously, it is the lead global plant, which means they believe this is the best possible quality plant they can have to make one of their most important vehicles. So that's good for Ontario, good for those workers. Honda made 229,000 total vehicles at its Indiana factory, where it also makes the Civic, through November of last year. That is running at max capacity. So I ask, where do they move the Civic production in Alliston to America? It would mean new lines or brand new factories, which are 2 to 3 year projects.
I'm sorry, mon frere. It's not no 2-3 year project. The fact is that we have lots of plants that have already closed down here. We have lots of facilities that are opened up that could be renovated to the point where they can get them going with some production on some Honda stuff. I mean, you could add on to the Indiana plant. And I think that's what they're really talking about, is moving that production from Canada to the Honda plants that they have here, including the Indiana one, which would be so fantastic for Indiana. And that's what we're talking about. And I'm not have no hatred or ill will for Canada, but I got to be America first. So if there's an opportunity that specifically my people over in Indiana can get more jobs and get more opportunities because they're moving their plant from over in Canada over or to wherever over in Canada to Indiana, I can only think that's a positive thing for America.
At anywhere from $2 billion to $5 billion, and they have to find the land, the supply chain, and do all of this stuff to essentially relocate an entire factory. That is not easy, and it doesn't happen fast. I have said this on occasion. It's easy to keep Donald Trump somewhat happy and somewhat at bay by just making an announcement, by maybe having a leak. Oh, we plan to have 90% of our U.S. vehicles made in America within 2 or 3 years. He considers that a win.
That.
He thinks he's forcing the hand of the automakers. It's easy to make a plan. It's expensive and long and difficult to execute those plans.
I feel that. I feel that. No, I definitely feel that. I think he's right about that. I think there is some truth to what he said at the end about, people just putting in a plan and leaking it, so maybe Trump will see it and step back and lower tariffs. But that's not how Trump is moving right now. Trump is dead set on these tariffs. You gotta have they said it. You gotta have they offering some runway, but you got to have like a serious plan. You got to have some serious ideas. You got to be implementing stuff like Hyundai is and Honda is and all the other, and what Hyundai is implementing, bringing some production over here. All of these companies are implementing things. They're not just saying they're implementing things. So, but I do understand what he's saying. I do understand that, you put out a good statement that people like me are going to be happy about, people like Trump are going to be happy about, because it says that we're going to get more opportunity over here in America, and that is the goal. That is the ultimate goal, is to, get us back to where we were. That's all. Only goal that I have. All right, last but not least, guys, we're going to definitely head really quick over to the New York Auto Show. I'm going to talk about Genesis. Now, I don't know if a lot of people are familiar with the automaker Genesis. Genesis wasn't always its own entity. Genesis is a offshoot of Hyundai. It started off as the Hyundai Genesis, and it was just a vehicle. And then Genesis started to create all kinds of different models for itself, the V8, the V80, the V60. I really got turned on to, I worked, of course, was a Hyundai service manager for a long time, and of course worked with a lot of Genesis at that time. And then, of course, I'm a name drop, and really I really got turned on to Genesis because the Herm Edwards, a famous football player and football coach, was a good friend of mine when I was working over at the Jaguar Land Rover dealership, and he had a Genesis V80 that he let me drive, and it was just a fantastic car. I had driven them before, but not really paid attention, and I drove his, and I loved it, and so it was definitely a car that I had for a little while, and Genesis is just a great. It being an offshoot of Hyundai tells me that it's a great product. I've always talked about this. I'm a really big fan of Hyundai. Kia, it's the same thing, but not so much. And of course, the reason that I like Hyundai partially is because of Genesis. Really big fan of those, and just a big fan of how Hyundai does business. Their warranties, how some of their cars are designed. I'm just a big fan. So, what I wanted to talk about was this car that Genesis come out with. This it's a concept car per se, but they've made a couple, I know, and it's an interesting looking vehicle. Matter of fact, I'm gonna show y'all the video first, and then we're gonna read the story from New York Auto Show. But I want y'all to check this out.
Habit of unveiling show-stopping concept vehicles, and this time they are shaking things up again. Introducing the X Grand Equator, a bold new concept that just premiered at the New York Auto Show. Unlike the elegant coupe and convertible duo from the G90 series, this new creation from Hyundai's luxury division takes a rugged, futuristic route that hints at something between an SUV and a wagon. And while Genesis has not directly confirmed it is electric, the sealed underbody and lack of an exhaust system strongly suggest it is powered by batteries, not gasoline. Design-wise, the X Grand Equator feels like it was made to break boundaries. It has an imposing long hood and rides on massive 24-inch beadlock wheels, though these wheels seem more like design flair than something meant for serious off-road use. Still, the intricate spoke pattern that mimics the design on the roof rails brings a certain flair. Just do not expect to enjoy cleaning them. One of the most refreshing parts of this concept is what Genesis has done inside the cabin. While most automakers are racing to slap the biggest tablet possible in the middle of the dashboard, Genesis has chosen to go against the grain. The X Grand Equator uses 4 sleek digital dials at the center, while the driver gets 3 circular gauges for a clean and functional look. Physical buttons still have a place, and there is even one dedicated to an off-road mode. This vehicle is a strict 4-seater, and that was clearly intentional. Both the front and rear seats are separated by full-length consoles that integrate grab handles, similar to those on the B pillars and dashboard. The door handles are positioned unusually low, and the glove box has been replaced with 2 strap-secured storage boxes. A 4-panel glass roof adds to the open feeling, and you will find switches on the headliner which may control either the sunshades or the glass itself. What Genesis is showing here is more than just a design study. While they insist it is not confirmed for production, the more realistic design elements suggest they might be thinking about a future, road-going model. Things like the split tailgate, terrain mode selector on the steering wheel, and low-profile digital layout give off a vibe that this could become more than just a dream on wheels. If you want to see a luxury brand push the envelope in ways that feel grounded yet exciting, this is it. Let us know what you think in the comments. And
Hell, that thing is so ugly, bro. I'm sorry. I am sorry. That has got to be one of the ugliest cars I've ever seen in my life. Y'all tripping, bro. Oh, here, let's read this story real quick. I'm gonna let y'all get up out of here. This car is, man, nope, I'm sorry, bro. Look at this thing. You know what it looked like to me? It looks like a long Pinto. Y'all remember them Pintos, Ford Pintos back in the day? It looks like a long Ford Pinto. Yeah, that is not what it did. That is not what it do. That is not what it do. Ain't no way in hell you catch me driving in that thing. I'm thinking to myself that it might look better if it was black, but I don't think so, man. Look at that thing. Let's read this story. I'm gonna let y'all get out of here. Okay. Genesis unwraps brand boosting adventure concept hypercar prototype. This is by Carly Schaffner from Today. Genesis aims to continue to enhance its premium image with sleek vehicle introductions designed to stoke interest in the budding luxury brand. That's not luxury, bro. To showcase its vision of an adventuring vehicle, Genesis pulled the veil on the X Grand Ecuador concept, an elegant overlander for the modern explorer. Genesis Chief Creative Officer YUCK said during a presentation here that the concept combines elegance with ruggedness and represents off-road competence with uncompromising luxury. The brand also presented a new model from its performance-oriented Magma sub-brand and endurance racing prototype of the EMR 001 hypercar engineered for the World Endurance Championship and International Motorsports Association Series. Genesis introduced both vehicles April 15th at the Genesis House showroom in New York City's Meatpacking District ahead of the New York Auto Show. Sitting high off the ground atop 24-inch wheels, the sleek X Grand Ecuador crossover sports Genesis' signature two-line lighting theme, clean lines, smooth surfacing, a long hood, and fast-back roofline. The name Ecuador comes from what Genesis said is recognized as the finest stallion in the Arabian horses and symbolizes endurance, agility, and refined power. Noticeably absent from the Ecuador concept is its traditional grille, which might ordinarily signal a blueprint for a future electric vehicle. However, last year the brand pivoted from a plan to phase out the sale of gasoline vehicles by 2025, on its way to becoming all-electric by 2030. To adapt to strong market demand for hybrids, it will be added to hybrid variants to its current lineup. Genesis also said by late 2026 it will roll out an extended range electric vehicle system for mid-size crossovers. The EREV uses an electric motor to power the wheels and an internal combustion engine to recharge the motor's battery. The X-Grand Ecuador would be an ideal package for the gasoline electric system and might also offer a sneak peek at a Genesis second generation GV80 mid-size crossover. Genesis said the concept is not confirmed for production, but Hyundai Motor Company CEO Jose Munoz has emphasized in the past that Genesis, along with Hyundai, the mass market brand from which it was born, rarely makes vehicles it did not intend to build. All right, that's all I'm going to give you on this story. It's going to get monotonous after a while because it'll start talking about the Magma. So, that's an ugly-ass car. It's an ugly-ass car, I'm sorry. And it's an ugly-ass car. I mean, I feel I'm getting the same feeling I got when I saw the Tesla Cybertruck for the first time. Jesus Christ. I mean, y'all got to do better when y'all put out these concepts on these vehicles, specifically these EV vehicles, if y'all going to entice us to buy them. That's just a big-ass Pinto. That is a big-ass electric Pinto. Now, the interior is fire. I mean, all the leather, you know, I like the front, how the front is set up. I kind of, in my electric vehicle, I'm going to kind of want to have big old screens and a lot of electricity and a lot of, you know, that kind of thing, but the concept of the interior is super duper nice, but who the hell's gonna drive around in a big old electric Pinto? Jeez, y'all got to do better. That is an ugly ass car. Alright, whoa. Beautiful day out here in California. Probably won't get to enjoy it because I got shit to do, but maybe you might get a chance to enjoy it. So, please like, share, subscribe. DM me if you have any questions, concerns, you need me to help you with your car in any way, shape, or form. You need a car in any way, shape, or form. Hit me up. And I'm out. Peace.